welcome back to another episode of App Stories. Today's episode is brought to you by Memberful and Pork Bun. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We had a good discussion during the pre-show today, all about screenshots and the Mac's role in them and some things that we've discovered. It's a little bit of a continuation of last week's pre-show, getting deep into the weeds on the technicalities of exactly what's going on when screenshots are taken and why it does things like cause overheating. So if you're interested in that, you can become a Club Premier member by going to plus.club. You get App Stories Plus as part of that, as well as a bunch of other things that we offer at Club Mac Stories. Or you can subscribe just to App Stories Plus if that's all you want by going to appstories.plus. All right, Federico, we have talked so far on the Vision Pro about the hardware and the OS. So I thought today we should start talking about the apps themselves and going by category. And I think today we're going to talk about entertainment apps.
Yeah. Okay. So I should say up front that ever since I got my Vision Pro, the activity that I've done the least on my Vision Pro is being entertained because
same here.
I've mostly tried to get work done and try productivity apps and utilities and take notes. But I have spent obviously some time watching videos and playing video games. If anything, to sort of help you with the story that you published on Mac Stories last week, which is an excellent overview of all the gaming options that you have on the Vision Pro. We're going to mention some of those apps today. And I wanted to start with Mirror Play. So Mirror Play, this is an iPad app running in compatibility mode on the Vision Pro right now. I am not sure if the developer, Florian Grill, is working on a native visionOS port. So Mirror Play is a third-party PlayStation Remote Play client. The official Remote Play app by Sony on the iPad is not marked as compatible on the Vision Pro.
Sony,
Come on, Sony. So you have to use a third-party Remote Play client, and the one that I knew, I've seen this on Reddit, sort of mentioned by people, and that I was able to try with my PS5 is Mirror Play. So this obviously you gotta grant this app access to your Sony PlayStation account. There's a privacy policy and everything that you can check out if you're not comfortable with this. But Mirror Play is a third-party client that, in my opinion, it actually provides a better experience than Remote Play, the official app, because it's got more settings and more things that you can fine-tune. So the setup was pretty easy for me. I just had to pair my Sony account and confirm a bunch of dialogue options, and then it found my PS5 on my local network. I haven't tried playing from outside my home yet. I try and be very careful with taking the Vision Pro out for trips and whatnot so far. I don't want to really carry it around right now that it's so new. But yeah, I was able to connect to my PS5 and I basically played and finished the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo while watching, while playing the game in my bedroom on the ceiling, just laying in bed and you know, sort of like Tim Cook mentioned, he watched the final season of Ted Lasso on the ceiling. That's what I did with Mirror Play and Final Fantasy VII.
I did not remember that about Tim Cook. He
said that.
Yeah, it must be that's just how he rolls, I guess.
You can, of course, this app is compatible with PS4 and PS5. You have a higher resolution options if you're using a PS4 Pro or a PS5. You're not going to get 4K, unfortunately, out of this. And I think the higher resolutions may be a limitation of the third-party Remote Play API that Mirror Play and other utilities are using. I know that another popular one on the Steam Deck, for example, is PS Play. I think it's another of these. It's also on Android, I believe, PS Play. But yeah, I think they have some resolution limitations. But in terms of latency and actually playing the game is on par, if not slightly better. I mean, I know that it was better than using my PlayStation Portal, definitely.
Yeah.
And I appreciated how MirrorPlay, the app, supports button mapping. So if you pair a DualSense with your Vision Pro, which you can do, actually, I realized yesterday, I entered pairing mode with my DualSense. I have a spare DualSense that I can use with the Vision Pro. As soon as you hold down the PlayStation button and the share button together, the DualSense starts flashing. On the Vision Pro, you get an alert in settings saying, hey, do you want to pair this controller? Like it recognizes the DualSense entering pairing mode automatically.
Yep.
And you can remap those buttons if you so wish in the MirrorPlay settings. You can enable or disable vibration. There's all kinds of things that you can tweak. You can choose between 30 and 60 FPS. So unfortunately, you cannot choose 120, for example.
No.
And you are limited on PS5 and PS4 Pro to 1080p resolution. I would love to have a 1440p, for example, option, or even a 4K option, but this is not available in MirrorPlay. You can, however, enable things like you can set a manual bitrate if you have a really good Wi-Fi network, and you can choose the aspect ratio of the video stream. I just kept mine to 16:9. But yeah, even in compatibility mode, this gets my recommendation.
I have a top tip for using MirrorPlay, and this goes for any of these remote play type apps, which is do your pairing of your controller with the Vision Pro first, then turn on then turn on your console. Because what'll happen is, I mean, this is why I so badly want Apple to make a game controller, is that as good as their support is for the Sony and Microsoft controllers, you still are dealing with regular old Bluetooth. And you get the console and the Vision Pro competing for the Bluetooth signal, and it can get messy. And that's another one of the setup problems I had that I talked about in the pre-show, was that I was like, oh, now I got to turn off the PS5 because I forgot, and I put it on first, and it was last paired with it, and so it immediately connected to that, and now it just becomes a little bit of a hassle there. So it pays to both have a spare controller like you do, so you don't have to you can just kind of dedicate it to this kind of thing, and two, to pair it first with the Vision Pro. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Memberful. Memberful is best-in-class membership software used by the web's biggest creators, publishers, and media companies. If you're building a membership website for a client, Memberful handles all of the hard stuff so you can complete your builds quickly and your client can focus on creating content while earning revenue with ease. We've been using Memberful for a really long time at Mac Stories for Club Mac Stories, and it's grown really well with us because it has so many different things that you can do to support a membership program like ours. It's fantastic that way. Memberful protects members-only content and allows site owners to select which subscribers get access to protected areas of your website using server-side content protection. It seamlessly integrates with WordPress and features a host of shortcodes and built-in WordPress functions so you can insert dynamic links and integrate Memberful data with your WordPress theme. Plus, Memberful has built-in connections with popular tools, things like MailChimp and Discord, Google Analytics, and all that kind of thing, so that site owners can reach and monetize their existing audiences without rebuilding their entire tech stack. And with Memberful, your clients will always have full control and ownership over their audience and their brand. The software also maintains a GraphQL API, webhooks, and OAuth single sign-on to make integrating even easier. Memberful has everything your client will need to run a membership program, including a streamlined and powerful checkout, an easy-to-use member portal, transactional email, and a member management dashboard. Memberful's analytics give your clients an easy-to-use, in-depth view of what's working, what's not, and where to double down, too. Help your clients monetize their passion. Get started for free at memberful.com/appstories. That's memberful.com/appstories. Our thanks to Memberful for their support of the show. All right. I am actually going to go off my list because I do want to talk about one of the things from that story I did on gaming, which is Nexus Plus. Nexus Plus is a fantastic app for playing various streaming services on your Vision Pro. It's not limited to games, but that's what I've been using it for the most because, on an iPad or an iPhone, you can, for instance, create a PWA, a web app for services like GeForce Now or Xbox Cloud Gaming, or things like Afterplay.io, which is for playing. It's basically a really cool web-based emulator that allows you to play local files of games that you have stored locally in like iCloud Drive or something, but using a web service as kind of the console part of the service. And what Nexus Plus does is one of the problems with the Vision Pro is you can't create web apps. You can't save something to your home screen. So how do you deal with some of these services that require that as part of the process? Well, you use Nexus Plus because it's basically a frameless browser for these kinds of applications. And all you have to do is go through, it's got pre-built in bookmarks for things like GeForce Now and Xbox Cloud Gaming. You go to the bookmark, you enter in your credentials, and you're up and running and good to go. And I think this is really one of the very best gaming experiences available for the Vision Pro, because that's other than what's available on the App Store, because it's just so simple. I mean, it's just all you're doing is dealing with an app that you're signing into, and then it's streaming over Wi-Fi. And those services are designed to work well over a variety of Wi-Fi connections. So you get a pretty good experience without having to have any kind of extra hardware or anything like that. You just have to be subscribed to the service. So I highly recommend trying out Nexus Plus for this sort of thing.
Yeah, I had a really good time using GeForce Now with Nexus Plus. And the thing I keep forgetting about GeForce Now is that it does let you log in with your Microsoft and Steam accounts,
Yep.
and it can sync your library of existing games, which you can stream. So, to give you a practical example, I could, for example, connect my Microsoft account, and I could continue playing my save of Sea of Stars, which I was playing on my gaming PC using GeForce Now and Nexus Plus on the Vision Pro. The only limitation that I ran into was the Microsoft login screen. When viewed on the Vision Pro, it doesn't really work well with gesture input or the keyboard. It's a weird sort of in-app web login, and it doesn't really play. But after a bit of trial and error, it worked. So that was my only issue, really. All right, so I want to mention something that I tried in compatibility mode. I'm going to continue my gaming recommendations. I tried this in compatibility mode, but I just ran into the native visionOS test flight beta for this app. So it's Moonlight. You may be familiar with Moonlight. It's a PC streaming solution. It's basically a PC version of Sony Remote Play, but you install this on your gaming PC. I should say you install Moonlight. Moonlight is the viewer app. So install Moonlight on your Vision Pro. You install a server on the gaming PC that is called Sunshine. So you have Sunshine on the PC and Moonlight on the Vision Pro. And Moonlight lets you stream those PC games to your headset. I tried the iPad app in compatibility mode and it worked fine. Sunshine on the gaming PC side of things has a bunch of setup involved. You gotta make sure that you have the right sort of video encoders set up for your GPU. I had to make sure that my setup was fine-tuned for the NVIDIA 4090 that I have. But after that was set, you have this very low latency setup. It's like very few milliseconds of latency, barely noticeable if you're not playing any competitive game. Like I'm not playing Call of Duty or Fortnite online. If you want to play any RPG or Cyberpunk or any indie game or Yakuza, whatever, it's fine. And I just saw that the Moonlight folks, they have a test flight beta for a native visionOS preview, which is exactly what I'm gonna play around with tonight. You have options, I guess, if you have a gaming PC and you want to make sure that you have also, of course, you got to have, once again, I cannot stress this enough, make sure you have a really solid Wi-Fi setup at home. The Vision Pro is not capable of Wi-Fi 6E, but a really good Wi-Fi 6 setup should be enough. Install Sunshine on your gaming PC, set up Moonlight on the iPad, or I should say on the Vision Pro, and you're good to go. So it's really good to see that they have a test flight already for a visionOS preview.
Yeah, I think Wi-Fi 6 on the Vision Pro is the absolute minimum they could have gone with to ship this thing and do some of the applications that they have on it. It's disappointing to me that it's not faster Wi-Fi, but I also kind of understand it because those are more immature technologies that probably draw more power, get hotter, and require larger chips and things like that. So I'm not surprised that we have Wi-Fi 6. I do look forward to the day when we have even faster Wi-Fi, or as we've talked about, something like a Thunderbolt cable connection to the Vision Pro. So that that really is that's the bottleneck really for a lot of applications, is the speed of your internet and the consistency and stability of your internet in doing with some of these gaming things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. So just to round out the remote play discussion, I tried an app called OneCast, which is a $15 app, runs in iPad compatibility mode, and does remote play for the Xbox. And I'm not going to say much about it because it's not much different than Mirror Play. It works basically the same. And my experience in using it was roughly equivalent to yours on Mirror Play. So if you're looking for a third-party solution for the Xbox, that's a really good one too. Federico, before I talk about some of the games I also played on Apple Arcade, I think I should mention Now Playing, which is an app that has been out for a while that is a great complement to Apple Music because it includes all sorts of editorial content about the music you're listening to. And what I really love about it is that it auto dims, for instance, when you start the app. It's really great for sitting back on the couch, relaxing, listening to some music, and then letting Now Play listen in on the music because it has a functionality to do that. And as the music changes, so does all the editorial content. And you can then explore the various albums and songs that you're listening to, the artists, more information about them, and then link back ultimately to Apple Music to, discover new stuff. And I've been using this quite a bit. It's got lyrics in here too. It even has some 3D renderings of some awards, which is a little gimmicky, but it was fun. I created a Grammy and put it on my desk and looked around at the various sides of the Grammy to see what it looked like, and that was cool. But it is a really useful way to learn more about the music that you enjoy. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by porkbun.com. Named the #1 domain registrar by USA Today in 2023 and 2024, Porkbun offers low prices on domains like .app, .dev, and .foo. Plus, they have powerful web hosting options and incredible personalized support 365 days per year. They've made a name for themselves as the favorite domain registrar for developers, programmers, web designers, and others in the tech industry. And it's no surprise why. They've got it all. Plus, every domain from Porkbun comes with a ton of freebies, like SSL certificates, Whois privacy, URL forwarding, web and email hosting trials, and so much more. That's because the folks at Porkbun don't believe that you should have to pay for things that should be free. Your .app, .dev, or .foo domains instantly support your credibility as a tech professional. They're perfect for supporting your next project or showcasing your digital portfolio of work. Right now, App Stories listeners can get a .app, .dev, or .foo domain from porkbun.com for just $1 for the first year. Just click the link in our show notes or use the code APPDEVFOO and the number 1 at checkout. Again, to get a .app, .dev, or .foo domain from porkbun.com for just $1 for the first year, use the link in the description or the code appdevfoo1 at checkout. Our thanks to porkbun.com for their support of App Stories.
I want to mention a few video apps now, specifically for YouTube. So I'm gonna start with Juno, obviously, by Christian Selig. This is the third-party YouTube client that's very popular right now on the visionOS App Store. It's a native visionOS app that you reviewed on Mac Stories, John, and what Christian has done here, YouTube doesn't have a visionOS app at the moment. They're probably working on it, but it's not here yet. So Juno is like a native reskin of the YouTube website that has been optimized with native visionOS UI components. It looks really nice, and I think it's a really nice compromise between getting access to all the YouTube features while having a native visionOS experience.
Yep.
And the reason I really like Juno because in the latest version 1.1, the Christian added the ability to open YouTube links directly in the app using a URL scheme. So of course I posted on Mac Stories a very simple shortcut that you can install in Safari on the Vision Pro in the share sheet. So anytime you click on a link in Ivory or Threads and you open a YouTube tab in Safari, you can run my shortcut and you can be instantly redirected to watching the video in Juno on the Vision Pro, where you can do things like skip ahead and make the video player bigger, have a native visionOS experience, choose the quality, see subtitles and all that sort of stuff. And it's much nicer and more minimalistic, if you will, than just using youtube.com inside Safari. So Juno, really nice experience. I also want to mention VisionTube. So this is another third-party YouTube client that you recommended to me, John. I was not familiar with this app before. It's made by a young developer, I believe. You told me a high school student.
That's right, in the Seattle area, I believe.
Nice. So VisionTube, what I really like is that it's another native visionOS experience for YouTube, but the developer has done some really interesting UI work with the video player. So you can open these additional sort of pop-up windows around the YouTube video player. But mostly what I find really striking is this 3D panel that sits below the main video player and that contains like additional controls and metadata for the video. It feels very sci-fi in a way to have like this 3D panel at an angle right in front of you. It's sort of like a control deck for the video player. Go take a look at some screenshots. It's kind of wild to try in practice, but it's definitely like it's a fun, different take on the more standard sort of experience that maybe Juno offers.
Right, because that panel comes out at like a 45-degree angle beneath the main player, which is kind of cool because it doesn't distract you from the actual content as much as just a full web page might, where you would have similar information beneath the player. And then as you want, you can pop out, comments if you want, or I think that there's like recommendations and other for other videos and things that can pop out to the side as well. It's a really well done app.
Yeah. And lastly, I will mention Play by Marcos Tanaka. This is the Watch Later app that we've covered on Mac Stories multiple times over the years. It allows you to save videos from a bunch of sources, but mostly I just use it for YouTube, for later. So just like you can save articles for later in, say, Matter or Readwise or Good Links, you can do the same with Play. And of course, with Play on the Vision Pro, it becomes this really nice experience to have just a dedicated utility where you can see all the videos that you've marked for later, and then you can open them. If you want to use you can use shortcuts to open them directly in Juno, and it's just a nice place to hold a bunch of things for later and just watch them, one after the other. I've been using this extensively over the past few days, especially because the latest version of Play also has integration with channels. So you can subscribe to your
Right, right.
favorite YouTube channels directly inside the app. And then you go to a dedicated channels view. So you can see all the latest videos in reverse chronological order from newest to oldest, from just a selection of channels, no algorithm in the middle, sort of pushing suggested videos to you. It's a really nice way to say select 5 or 6 channels, and the videos that you want to check out for later, you can just add them to your queue with a single swipe. And otherwise, it's just a really nice utility to collect a bunch of videos and open them in Juno or Safari when you have time to watch them.
Yeah, I'll say I've been watching a lot more YouTube thanks to
Yeah.
that channels feature, because it really, and I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I'd say that's an idea that Google should steal, except that it's also keeping me away from the algorithm, which I actually enjoy, but maybe Google wouldn't enjoy that so much. So I'm glad Marcos is doing it. I guess I want to kind of close out the episode, Federico, talking a little bit about the native options you have when it comes to gaming on the Vision Pro. And I kind of break it up into 3 buckets. There's Apple Arcade, there are spatial computing games, I call them spatial games, that are not in Apple Arcade, but in the regular App Store. And then there are iPad compatible apps or games that can be played on the Vision Pro too. Now, when it comes to the Apple Arcade stuff, some of the best spatial games are there. Super Fruit Ninja is really kind of a treat to play. I mean, I didn't think I had any more Fruit Ninja in me. I thought I don't know. I didn't think I would like this game, but I really do, because it uses your surroundings so well. And there's this little pig that wanders around your room, and you can pet him and talk to him and do things like that. That's kind of cute. And you're slicing fruit and things get all over the walls. And it's just, one of those games that's fun. And it really does require you to get up. Most of these games I've tried are more like any of the Vision Pro apps, where you just kind of mostly sit in a chair or a couch or whatever and play them. But Fruit Ninja really is meant to get up. It calibrates your surroundings to make sure that you've got enough space so you're not going to be knocking things off your shelves. And then you start playing, slicing the fruit with, custom gestures, which are basically you're just slicing your arms through the air. And I enjoyed that one a lot. Another one that was kind of cool in Apple Arcade is called Synth Riders. And Synth Riders is a little bit like Beat Saber. It's basically that kind of game. You're not using swords to, do things to the rhythm of the music. You're using like these balls that you hold in your hands. They extend off the ends of your hands. And as the things come towards you, you hit them or avoid them and do things like that. But it's a rhythm game, very typical, but really well done and fun and custom in its way that it's using hand gestures. I will say though that, Apple Arcade has 12 games right now, with 3 more on the way that are spatial games, which is pretty thin, but I don't know. I mean, the ones that they have, they're pretty good. The 2 I mentioned are great. There are some though that are good games, but they're really just 2D games in a diorama. You've got Jetpack Joyride 2 and Cut the Rope 3, which really are just
Yeah.
2D games in an immersive setting, which they're not bad games and they're still fun. I thought Jetpack Joyride was a little hard to control the little guy with pinch gestures. But other than that, they're good games. There's a reason that they've been popular for a long time, but they haven't really made good use of the immersive experiences, I don't think. So there aren't a lot of choices there. There are some things that are innovative. It tends to lend itself, because you don't have controllers, to gross motor movements and puzzle games that are like turn-based, that don't require a lot of fast action or precision. But those kind of games can be fun too. Then outside of Apple Arcade, you've got games like Black Box for Vision, which if you've ever played Black Box on the iPhone or the iPad, very hard game to describe. It's really a puzzle exploration game where you're presented with things that you don't understand, and you're meant to explore them and figure out what's going on and how to solve these puzzles that don't really give you much in the way of affordances to figure out what's happening. But you have, like these blobs floating in space in your room and bubbles and things, and you can pop them and you can stretch them and you can hold them in your hands and do all kinds of things to try to unravel the mystery behind what's going on. And I haven't played a lot of it, but it's really been one of the coolest immersive experiences I've had. And then another game that I thought was pretty well done outside of arcade is called Stack, which is a little bit like reverse Tetris, I suppose. It's building blocks that you're stacking, making a tower out of, and you get a score based on how high you can go. And that's one of those that, as I said, a turn-based type of thing where you can take your time, use your hands to kind of rotate the blocks and drop them, and it works quite well that way as well. And finally, Federico, I do want to shout out compatibility mode games because I kind of figured that iPad compatible games wouldn't be that great, but there are some good ones. And Apple has helpfully created a list that is in the App Store on the Vision Pro of iPad compatible games that they recommend. And the two that I have played so far are Bad North, which is a tower defense game that's been around for a while. It has like procedurally generated islands with invaders. It's like kind of like a Viking vibe where there's boats full of invaders coming to the island, and you control armies that you have to place around the island and fend for yourself and ward them off. That actually works really well with the pinch gestures. And it's kind of neat because you can just make the screen really big if you want, and it looks really cool hanging there in the air. And the other one is Automatoys, which is a Rube Goldberg machine type of game, which is more, I'd say it's almost as much a toy as it is a game, in that, it's a typical iPhone, iPad game where you're trying to get a ball from a starting point to a finishing point. And you do that by manipulating the different parts of these contraptions so that the ball rolls into the right place at the end of the level. And that game is just extremely well done. It's been around for a while. Both of these have been around for quite a while. And it works really well with the pinch gestures because it's doesn't require a huge amount of precision, but responds quite well to your gestures. So that would be my recommendation: is don't just skip over the iPad games because you think that they won't work, because a lot of them do. And, I wouldn't say action games. And there are, as I mentioned, the story that I did on the site, there are a lot of very kind of big title games that are not there, that are on the iPad, that are on the iPhone, some like the Capcom games and stuff. Mm-hmm. But these compatibility puzzle games are quite good.
Nice. All right,
Federico. Well, I think that's it for now. We're gonna we'll have some more Vision Pro soon. We've got we haven't really even on this show talked about the productivity apps much, but that, I think you and I have spent the most time in those, and there's a lot more new stuff coming out all the time. I want to thank our two sponsors for this episode. That was Memberful and Pork Bun. You can find me and Federico over at macstories.net. We are on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net or johnvorhees.macstories.net to follow us there. We're also on Instagram and Threads, where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.